Keon Coleman content has been out there a lot with first round pick wide receiver, and on the field, off the field, like the kid made him the friendship bracelet, he gave him the gift. I mean, Keon Coleman content is everywhere on my timeline every day because he's a kind of a magnetic personality. People like to hear his press conferences, like to see his behavior, and he might be good, but nobody really knows yet. Replacing Stephon Diggs in the Bills' offense, I don't know if I even have a strong opinion on what to do with Buffalo this year. I could see it going either way, and I don't want to bet the win total, and it might just be right. But what are you seeing from camp for them?
Just on Buffalo, I like. So in the ratings that I did, I have the Jets as the best team in the division. I have Buffalo second, and I have Miami third by a little bit, but I like all three teams. Yep. And then the Patriots I have by far the worst team. I think I really like the Jets. I think like that's like when you ask me about Buffalo, I'm like, well, I love the Jets. Let me tell you about the Jets if you're gonna ask me about the Buffalo Bills.
What do you think about Josh Allen? Well, I think Aaron Rodgers is gonna beat him this season. Like, well, that's not really the question.
The Bills are gonna win like 10, 11, 12 games.
Yep.
And lose in the playoffs like Kansas City or somebody else.
10-7, that's most likely record by far, probably.
Yeah, and that gets you on. And so okay, so now I'll ask you. You want to bet under?
No, I just think it doesn't have to play out like last year where it started slow and then they gained a lot of momentum going into the playoffs, but just that there's going to be parts of the season, 4 or 5 week stretches where I think you're not going to like them very much. And they're going to have another one of them. I don't know where it's going to be. Nobody knows. But I think they're a team unlike, the Niners last year. I think Detroit is going to be that team this year where the entire season you're going to like Detroit a lot, probably with how they're going to play. Part of that's the schedule. Buffalo's going to have 5-6 weeks where you're going to be like, really? Like, I'm not so sure about that. And Allen, just because he'll be one of the best 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the league again this year, will kind of will them to some kind of 9-10 type win season. But is it ever going to be way better than that? This is one of the things about MVP with him that I struggle with is, like, is it really going to be way better than last year from a team performance standpoint? Like, he can be just as good, and he played well enough to win last year. They just didn't win enough. And Lamar won way more, and that's always how it goes. Are they going to go 14-3? The second favorite for the award. Seems way more likely that another team does that. Any other team does that. I think even Houston has some 14-3s in there to be the 1 seed. Mahomes could definitely do it again. The Jets could do it with Rodgers. Burrow could do it. His schedule's a little easier than the other division teams. I think Tua could do it. I think in the regular season, they could win a lot of games. Playoffs, nobody knows. So I just, I think there's some other quarterbacks here. Is Josh Allen going to be the quarterback of a team that goes 14-3, or is it going to be a lot of 9-8, 10-7? He's really good. That's not the problem. It's just everything else.
I think the most interesting thing about Buffalo training camp is actually not the offense. It's what's happening on defense and the defensive line right now, where Greg Rousseau has emerged as like a pretty good young pass rusher. One of the problems with the Bills last year, in addition to like a lot of injuries that they had on defense, and a lot of these guys are going to be back, to be fair, like Matt Milano, among others. Von Miller, and it's very early. It's still July as we do this right now. Von Miller, by all reports, looks like Von Miller of old, and not like old Von Miller. So if Von Miller he's not going to be like what he was at the beginning of his career with the Broncos because he's old now. But if he can give them something and like look like even 60% of what he was in the past, I think that matters a lot. Like that might be the difference between 10-7 and 12-5 for the Bills if that can happen. So I want to start there. Just like most interesting training camp note is not a skill position. I actually think it's Von Miller's reemergence for the Bills.
Like, are the Bills better? And I do this with I think with Baltimore too. It's like the longevity with the coach quarterback. Like, are the Ravens better? Like, they're definitely worse, even if they're only a little bit worse. It's like there's not that like, well, now they added and now they take the step up and now they win. It just feels like very, like 5 seed in the NBA playoffs, like that kind of purgatory where you're just really like you're good, but you're not on that arc anymore. Like maybe you were one year, like the crazy Kelsey catch divisional round game. Maybe that was the step up and that was supposed to be it. But like, that's not what this is. Like this isn't a team on an arc that's up. This is a team that's good, but they're not on an arc where like they're taking that last step to go win the Super Bowl. That's the problem.
I think you're 100% right with the Josh Allen stuff when it concerns MVP, where he's great.
It's tough.
The first quarterbacks. Yeah. He's the first quarterback that should be selected in fantasy football leagues. Like he's amazing. Also, I don't know that the Bills ever win enough games like to get Josh Allen MVP this season. So I agree with you on that. So I think we're kind of simpatico on Buffalo. Where I do you like the Jets better or no?
Yes. I don't like I want to love Miami, and every time I try to get myself 100% of the way there, I can't. And I want to. Like, they have so many things that I like that other teams don't have. Like, Tua was the number one rated passer last year by Pro Football Focus. Like, they're great. Like, the edge. So it's, what are the other two categories? Offensive line and edge. Like, Shaq Barrett retired on them. Like, that's really, they already lost Van Ginkel and they already lost Wilkins, and Shaq Barrett retired. So now edge is going to be a strength again.
Yeah,
like, that's, they were top 4 team in that category last year.
Now,
so that's
to
worse.
be fair,
right? Go ahead.
But they'll get Phillips back. They'll get Chubb back. Both guys are on PUP right now. Yeah. And they did sign, and like this is less like to go against what Ken's saying and more to support what he's saying. Like, they brought Yannick Ngakoue in and Emmanuel Ogba, and they signed Ogba. Right, they need bodies like to rush the passer, so it could be problematic at least early.
It's a crusher.
Yeah, it's really bad. Like
because they already lost all the other
might
guys.
not be there.
Right. Yeah, it's tough.
And
O line,
the offensive and the O line sucks. It sucks.
This is to be perfectly fair to a team I've talked up, they fail in a bit the way the Bills fail, which is like, they're better. Are they? Now, they can be better because they hated Fangio and they like the new defensive coordinator Weaver. They like him way more, and like Ramsey's still on the team, and they'll have enough edge, healthier. And like they could be right. But it's all kind of in combination. Like, the defense year to year is much tougher to predict, I think, than offense. Like when you get the quarterback in the passing game down, you can start to lock that in every year going forward. Defense is just, I think you're all over the map a lot of the time. Some of it's driven by turnovers, pressures that turn into sacks, all that stuff. So the defense can be better. But like, if I'm just being honest, Miami fits so many things that I look for. And I like the idea that Tua can still take a really big step forward in terms of how everyone thinks about him, like playing well in big games, that kind of stuff. But if I apply this argument to the Bills, this filter, like, are they on an arc to get better? They're consolidating pieces that make the roster better and taking a step forward, or they're dropping things and guys are getting hurt, and there's a lot of good stuff still there. There's a lot of really good stuff still there, but this wasn't like you added the missing piece and now you go get the ring. Like, that's not what's happening with that team. So they're shakier than I wanted them to be. The Bear retirement, it's like it shouldn't be as important as I'm making it out to be almost, but it's just like, look, these are the things that predict success. They needed this guy to fill things that they lost in the second most important predictor of success. And he retired. That is a big deal.
In best ball, you want to stack quarterback and receivers, right? It's like one of the ways that you want to win.
As a strategy.
So take Josh Allen.
Right. Yeah.
Correct. So like, look, you could take like naked Josh Allen if you want, but like, you'd like to pair Josh Allen with like Dalton
everybody
Kincaid,
loves naked
right?
Josh Allen. Yeah.
He's a handsome, strapping young man. Allen and Kincaid is a very difficult stack to have because Allen is the first quarterback taken and Kincaid goes very early. I have found that Keon Coleman is a really nice pairing with Allen, and I'm far from the only person that said a couple weeks ago. Like, like Coleman could be like Kelvin Benjamin was his rookie year. Just a big-bodied wide receiver, could catch a lot of touchdowns from Josh Allen. So I don't hate that, and Allen Coleman, just because Kincaid's really hard to get to. It's hard like to pair the two of those guys together. I love James Cook. Cook had some unlucky red zone luck last season, unlucky luck, where I think Cook's going to be a beast this year. I love James Cook in fantasy football this year. And I guess if you had to go away from Coleman and Kincaid, two guys would stand out. One would be Curtis Samuel, who was with Brady in Carolina, who I think will run the ball in addition to getting targets in the passing attack. And the other would be Khalil Shakir. I don't hate either. And if neither guy separates himself in the preseason, I think that those are two guys I'll want to like fire some darts on at the end of drafts coming up in August, where one of them hits, like you get Josh Allen's like number 2 receiver this year potentially, and like a high octane, high powered offense. So just a couple thoughts on the Bills guys. I don't really have an opinion on Ray Davis, the rookie running back. I think Cook's very likely to be like the main running back this year, but if you're looking for a handcuff or want a second running back, you have to take Davis over Ty Johnson because the rookie has to break the tie than like the veteran who's been there forever and has never like accomplished a lot of anything. So that's Buffalo. Miami, obviously, Tyreek and Waddle are both monsters. Tua, I think, has no rushing equity, but like, yeah, could throw for a ton of touchdowns this year. I'm not as bullish as I said last hour on Devon Achane as Evan is. Evan Silva on with us last hour, but like I love Devon Achane. I think he's a second round pick, and in home leagues, like if he gets to the third round, you absolutely have to take him. So love Achane. Couple other quick hitters on the Miami offense. The Dolphins have not had a third receiver emerge opposite Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I think there's a chance that the rookie 6th-rounder Malik Washington can do that this year. Like, looking good in training camp. Let's see how he performs in the preseason. I also think that you will get tight end performance this year from Miami that you have not gotten in the Mike McDaniel era. He has talked about that at press conferences, that he loves Jonnu Smith, who they signed away from the Atlanta Falcons. And the last note will be, Raheem Mostert is the guy that profiles early in the season to take work away from Devon Achane. My bet is by the second half of the season, it will be the speedster rookie running back, Jalen Wright. So just stuff to monitor as we move on in the preseason.